How's it going, everyone? It's your boyfriend Matt C2, and welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, we will be relocating my battery to the back and making the car drop with some coilovers. If you guys follow me on social media, I broke the news that the cooling system will be delayed. So I gave the option of doing the battery relocation as my next episode, and I got tons of positive response to that. Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert at doing this or that my way is correct. The only experience I had with this installation was on my Turbo 2 RX-7, which I relocated my battery to the rear compartment behind my seat. So I'm hoping you all can chime in and give feedback in the comments below on how I did mine. So with all the research that I found on the forums and my ghetto Photoshop blueprint, this is the plan for the RX8. If you need any help with this installation, hit me up anytime. I'm available on Facebook and Instagram. Let me break down the parts for you. This is my ICT3478 Optima battery bracket. Got it off of Amazon for about 60 bucks. And the battery itself, Optima D3478 yellow top, which runs around $270. I decided here to mount the battery with the terminals facing the front of the car so I can at least get 4 out of 6 holes to be used to mount the battery bracket in place. Here's a shot from the bottom of the car. This location is right above the exhaust and there is so much room to get your hands over to mount the bolts in place. I chose to ground the battery to the top bolt of the rear shock. Whatever ground point you choose, don't forget to remove the paint to expose the bare metal for 100% ground contact. Let's finally start making the wires. You'll be needing 1/0 AUG copper battery cable ends, a battery crimper tool, and 15 feet of 1/0 AUG battery cable for both the red and black. Make sure to use a blade for exact cuts and also use a cable end for measurement. I'm using my zip tie technique to cut equally all around. I highly recommend getting a crimper tool as it makes installing the cable ends a breeze. It's also a good way to relieve stress because this tool can definitely take a beating. To make your battery cables look professionally made, I highly recommend adding shrink wraps over the battery cable ends like so. Also, I found a technique to get those shrink wraps to slide down with ease. I'll show you in a bit. And here's the final product. Now we are onto the fun part, where we start removing the interior panels to snake the battery cables through to the engine bay. Removing your seat is optional. I remove mine to get better shots of the installation. After removing all the interior parts that are on the way, if you lift up the carpet, you'll notice that there is no way the cables can route that way. The only route to go is beside the long door harness. We can now rewrap the battery harness that I promised you guys a few episodes back. The goal here is to remove everything that deals with the negative terminal. I decided that I won't be shortening any wires. Maybe I will do that off camera when I have time, but the main goal here is just to get the car running. Here's the finished product. Let's finally install our battery harness back onto the car. We are getting closer to seeing those Christmas lights on the dashboard. As you can see here, there's definitely a lot of slack on the battery harness. It's time to start making our positive battery cable. Same procedure as I shown before. We can now route our positive cable through. What I like doing is temporarily zip tying my cable in place, so that way if I pull too much, the cable won't go out of place. The fuse box will need to be trimmed down so that both the positive and negative cables can fit. I'm just using a Dremel with a sanding bit to trim down the plastic, or you can remove the plastic piece that holds the fuse box completely to make the modification. Once you are done, it should look a little like this. Route your cable on the left side of the fuse box and harness. It may look ugly, but I decided to route my cable through a hole that I made in this harness grommet. I could definitely do this a lot cleaner if I were to remove the dashboard, but this is fine to me personally. I also chose this route to keep the battery cable as close to the fuse box as possible to make the installation look clean. Now it's time to install my Stinger 200 amp breaker. This piece cost me $40 but worth every penny. Definitely high quality. The procedure to install a breaker is the same. Just cut the battery cable to length and install the copper wires into the breaker. The inside of the breaker is towards the battery and the outside is towards the engine bay. This is how it should look like with the battery cable connected. Here I'm planning to mount my breaker with Velcro to the battery. There are many ways to mount the battery junction box. If you retain your center brace, you can mount there. But since I removed mine, I have to make a new bracket. Off camera I made one and this is how it came out. The new bracket will be mounted with my external oil filter adapter. My reasoning for mounting the battery junction box here is so that I can retain the OEM Positive Terminal with the fuse for the fans and also be able to jump start the car from the engine bay if ever needed. Alright, we are now onto the negative wire that also needs to be routed to the engine bay. Nothing new, same procedure as the positive wire. Time to reveal my secret weapon in getting the shrink wrap to slide easily down the wire. That's right, it's lubricant. Make sure that you get a battery cable that can accept 2 or more wires. At this point, you can start putting back the rear plastic trim and top part of the seat. There is no easy way in getting two 0-gauge wires plus the side door harness to fit all together. You will have to remove the white plastic clips and rewrap the harness tightly with electrical tape.
Under pressure, yeah, we talked and I wanted to do you proud of. Yeah, we talked and I wanted to do you proud, but under pressure, when I walked, I thought I was ready now, yeah. When I walked, I thought I was ready now, but ooh, push came and shoved me off, and still you would help me up. Push came and shoved me off.
You will still need the plastic clips to hold the carpet in place, but you'll have to modify them by cutting off the sides.
No, I wasn't ready.
To note here, use some zip ties to get all the wires to stay tight together, then put back your modified plastic clips. Here's a closer look on how your wires should look like. Again, I'm lubricating the wire so the door skid trim can slide in easily. Was a tight fit, but we got it done. Here I'm showing that the trim doesn't hit the door when closed. For my build, I found the best place to bolt my ground terminal will be on the right side of the fuse box. Totally optional from this point on.
So that I'm not surprised when the devil comes and do it. Trying will start off and do it. I'ma just stay on top. Do it. Trying will start off and do it. I'ma just stay on top. Wait, no, I wasn't ready. You caught me off guard.
Here's the ground terminal now bolted in place. We can now bolt down our positive cable into the battery junction box. We also need to cut a metal bar to extend the OEM positive terminal. I'll be using washers to level the OEM positive terminal. Also adding shrink wrap to the metal bar for safe measures.
I can't get enough of this drug that they call love. I need. You came from above, your wings wider than a dove. I need you, I need you.
Won't you take me home and give me wings to fly? We can be alone in the castle in the sky. We can run away and leave this world behind. Please just take me.
Lastly, let's temporarily add our original ground wires that came from the battery harness. Off camera, I'll make new wires that will run to the fans and engine. That wraps up our battery relocation. Towards the end, I felt kind of unsure about the OEM positive terminal sticking out so far. I'll eventually revisit this and fix it off camera, but for now it's good enough. Now let's get on to the next installation, my Tein Flex Z Coilovers. There are already many awesome tutorials out there on how to install shocks or coilovers onto your RX8. So I'll just do my install in a time lapse and try to beat the sun, all while wearing slippers.
I can wait another second to be with you for an eternity. I feel like I am in a daydream. Every moment that I spend with you. Won't you take me home and give me wings to fly? We can be alone in the castle in the sky. We can run away and leave this world behind. Please just take me home to a castle in the sky. Castle in the sky.
With everything now done, I give you movie magic in 3, 2, 1. I would like to give a shout out to my subscriber Streetport YYC. He was able to use my tutorial on installing his 25-row oil cooler with the exact brackets that I made. Also, this confirms that it also works with Mishimoto's 25-row oil coolers as well. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing this with me and looking forward to your build.